Cos Samaras is, of course, the boss of the Redbridge Group. They are now doing polling for the Australian Financial Review. Cos joins us now. Mate, what a cat amongst the pigeons, all right? The second this poll dropped, right, all the people who say get rid of net zero go, we're back in the fight, we're back in the fight. All the people who say, oh, no, we can't go there. If we get rid of net zero, it's death. Everyone used this piece of analysis, all right? So we're going to go through it slowly. Headline numbers, right? Basically, 37% of all voters say that they want the coalition to abandon net zero by 2050. But remember, Labor, Greens, Teal voters, so I don't know, are they saying that because they agree? Are they saying it because they're trying to sabotage? Well, again, that's why Cos is here. Pretty similar number in the opposite direction, and then we have about 26% of all voters sitting in don't know. So, Cos, anything you want to tell me about this poll before I ask it?
Yeah, the don't know is I actually don't know much about the policy area. I just want you to keep the lights on.
Yeah, right.
And can you please make sure that happens and make sure I don't pay through the nose. And that's mainly the group that answers the question don't know.
That's good.
And the other two groups are polarised. If you look at those for and against, when we look at who is for it, it's overwhelmingly people on the coalition side, One Nation voters, a little bit of Labor voters, but not much. But yes, it's a very polarised sample. And then there's the group in the middle Australia, so to speak, who have no idea.
Okay, so everyone is watching me right now, and again, all those politicians that send me messages, God love you, but please do not read anything other than just sit back. Cos and I are having a chat, all right? He's not sending you a secret message. He's not telepathically sending something in the left or the right. It's just a conversation, and anyone lucky enough to be watching it like you right now, relax, right? I've got a feeling Cos's phone may have exploded in the past couple of days. So interesting about that don't know, right? Because once you start to break it down by generations and theoretically, the younger you are, the more left you are. I don't know whether don't know changes there, but still, right? Clear. Big number of people in Gen Z say don't make a change, keep it with net zero.
That's right.
It starts to level up, but it is still dominant to keep net zero in millennials. Everyone needs to understand that basically more than half of the electorate now is millennial and Gen Z, okay? Think of millennial as roughly the sort of 50. Gen X, of course, has a little bit of people under 50 like myself, but still, right? And then it's Gen X and baby boomers who start to move the other way. So again, when people are reading these numbers, how important is the fact that I just said, Cos, there are more people that are millennials and Gen Z than there are Gen X and baby boomer, and therefore the bias the younger you get matters.
That's right. And next election, those numbers will be the more skewed in that direction. We've got to remember that although not everyone of this group I'm about to mention votes yet, the majority of Australians were born after 1986. So those of us who weren't makes you feel a bit old, right?
Bloody oath.
Right. That's the majority of Australians now, and they're all coming on the roll. That wave after wave is jump on the roll. They have a fixed view on climate change, and I think as you and I discussed at a previous interview, it's the entry ticket to them listening to you if you're on the conservative side of politics, right? And so if you want their vote, you're going to have to address a couple of things. First of all, housing is number one issue for them, absolutely, especially if they're living in Sydney, but also in Melbourne. And then, of course, climate change. It's almost a default position. The minute you start playing around with that area, they tend to get a little bit sceptical about why you're doing it.
By the way, 1987, right, people paying attention in and around these years, just did a quick little, Siri, ChatGPT thing. Just so, no, I'm not talking to you now. Shut up. Okay, I've lost it. Anyway, 1987 was when the first mobile phone call was made in Australia. It was when the West Coast Eagles joined the AFL competition back then as the VFL competition, okay? So for those who are trying to work out where was I in 1987, the first mobile phone in Australia and the Weagles, okay? If you remember it happening, that's the list that you're being put into here. Now, so again, we've talked about that threshold issue, right?
Yeah.
But is there anything that surprised you? Was there any sort of counterweight here where maybe a focus group behind it, there was a certain section that surprised? Because again, picture that's being painted here is the intensity pro significant climate change action gets harder the closer you get to the younger voter, and there are more of them than others. But that don't know category is pretty significant with millennials, with like 28%.
Yeah, look, I think let's not. I mean, we've spoken about the polls, but let's talk about what we see in groups, focus groups, what we hear from Australians on this issue. So they will tell you, when we speak to them about nuclear, for example, they will respond and say, yeah, look, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I just want you to make sure that the lights stay on and I'm not paying for the nose. And yes, I want you to ensure that the country's taking some reasonable steps towards climate change and dealing with it as a problem. They're not as militant as the political class are on this issue. They do want action taken. They just are not sure which policy they want to support. They do have a strong view that the current process is taking too long and that it's too expensive and it's going to cost them money with regards to the electricity bills. That is absolutely the case. The numbers are through the roof across the entire country. That doesn't mean, though, that yep, my electricity bills are going to be up. But then the flip side, we ask them, well, do you want the country to stop taking action on climate change? Their response is, no, of course not.
That's the ring-a-ding-ding here, right? That's the red light. That's the bit that I say back to people, which is do not confuse that grey with it's all rubbish. It's all, the climate's always been changed. No, the threshold is, again, quite the other way. Cos, I'm out of time, but, we will reconvene sooner rather than later, perhaps to talk about the One Nation phenomenon and how sticky it may well be.
Absolutely.
Keep reading your stuff there. Looking forward to the data as well. Thank you, mate.